Hello, this is Nick Richards with MCTV. We're in the basement of the historic Avalon Theater in Easton, Maryland. And today I'm here with Roland Comtois, what term do you prefer, spiritual medium? Or?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Roland is a spiritual medium, inspirational speaker, and author, a professional healer with over 30 years of experience as hopefully I pronounce this right, a gerontology nurse.
Yes.
A Reiki master, metaphysical teacher, and grief counselor. Roland is with us today to discuss life, death, and his latest musical stage production, Heaven the Experience, about your very own near-death experience.
Yes.
Well, that certainly, when I was going over the introductory notes, that caught my attention right away. Could you tell me more about this near-death experience?
Sure. 30 years ago, I was doing a small event with a group of 12 people, and my cousin and her friends were hosting this, and halfway into this event, I collapsed and fell onto the table, and I was gone.
Oh,
my cousin was reaching for my pulse. She said my skin turned ice cold. They were trying to resuscitate me, and I was gone. At that second, I saw a light. I felt energy. I knew that I was leaving my physical body. I knew that there was something else. I knew that there was something more. And as I was dying, I heard sounds. I smelled these amazing scents that I couldn't even describe in any kind of human language. And I saw colors and light. And as I was leaving, I was ascending and reaching out and leaving my physical body and stepping out into that heavenly universal space. It was the most extraordinary experience of my life. The most extraordinary experience.
I imagine.
I felt more love than I can even articulate in this moment. So I had this thought that I need to tell the story, that there's more. And what a better way to do it on a stage, singing songs that I heard when I died. When I died, I heard them say these words to me, and we were able to put them into a song.
Wow.
And this play has all original music that resonates all of the sound that I heard from my near-death experience.
You said when you were describing the the smells, that it's impossible to describe in human language. How challenging was it to try and translate those senses into something tangible?
That was hard, but we used scent, we used images, we used storytelling, and we used song and music to articulate that story. And what we've discovered is that we have a way to tell the story that there's something beyond here. And my near-death experience, and many people have had near-death experiences. I'm not the only guy in town, right? Many people have had experiences, and mine is one like many others, where there is something profound. But trying to describe that experience was very challenging. But we used all those tools to make it happen.
So, in terms of the story of Heaven the Experience, is this near-death experience kind of the majority of the story, or is it an early part that is a catalyst for can you tell me kind of the overarching narrative there?
Sure. The catalyst actually for all of this happened 45 years ago when my grandmother died. 3 days later, she appeared in my bedroom. I saw her as clearly as I see you. And there's no, at this point in the game, there's no getting out of it. I saw her there. It was as if she was right there in my space, and I looked at the end of my bed, and she was looking at me, and I heard her say, "Everything is going to be all right." From that moment to this moment, my mission has really been to tell people that love is everlasting. And then I have that near-death experience, which catapults the opportunity to really tell the story.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
With her message of everything is going to be all right, and that certainly seems to be the most common message. Is that pretty much the main message that you're receiving for everybody else, that everything's okay, or are the messages more varied than that?
That is probably the best question any interviewer has ever asked me.
Thank you.
Very bad. The reality of it is they don't just say everything is all right. They say, I'm sorry. I'll never forget this one woman sitting in a room whose father passed away 45 years ago. She was an older woman, waited her whole life for her father to say he was sorry about something. She transformed. But recently I did an event here in the eastern shore of Maryland, and there was an older man in the room. He had to be 80 years old. His mother said to him, "I'm sorry for the way I treated you." The guy had one tear coming down his face. Now, something changed in him at that moment.
Sure.
So they say, "I'm sorry." They say to us, "Why don't you go on in your life?" Look, I've been giving messages for so long. I've never heard the afterlife say, "Be depressed." I've never heard them say, "Sit on a couch and don't move." But we don't move. We don't talk. We don't do the things that we're supposed to do when someone passes away. So they encourage us to live on. And finally, is my mission really isn't to tell you to really talk to dead people, honestly. It's to talk to the living.
Sure.
So that you can live your life, so that you can take a step through your grief and pain. So they say, move on. They say, I didn't mean to hurt myself. They say, you were so good when you were holding my hand when I was dying. They say, yes, I was hurt by someone else. They say lots of things. I mean, you read all these purple paper messages that are in front of you. Each and every one of them tell a different story.
That's wonderful. And with messages of that nature, I'm sure it speaks to you as a former nurse, correct?
Yes.
Do those two things tie into each other as someone who is bringing healing in various ways?
I had a 95-year-old patient. Her name, I'll call her Flo for this conversation.
HIPAA laws.
Yeah. Her name was Flo, and I walked into the room, and she had been coming to the end of her life, and she and I, as a nurse, her nurse and the practitioner of all these patients that were on that floor, my job was to make sure they were happy, body, mind, and spirit, right? I walk into the room, and she's dying, and we had become very good friends, and she reaches over to me, and she says, "Do you really think there's something else?" Right? I take her hand, and I say, "I think you're going to be okay, Flo." And then she said to me, "I'm going to love you forever." And in that moment, I thought, whatever we established together, the impressions of love, the experiences we had, transformed the dynamic of our relationship. We were no longer nurse and patient. We were friends. And so it is important to, as a nurse, as a healer, or someone that brings these messages forward, is to keep the channel open so that people can find some healing and peace.
Wonderful. Well, you've referenced these purple papers, and I heard a lot about them leading up till now. What are they, and when did they begin? What was the origin of that?
In 2005, I was sitting at home hearing a lot of things. I mean, I know it sounds weird, and maybe I need treatment, but I've already had treatment. It happened when I was 18 years old. I already received all the things I needed. I came to the realization that this is a part of me, an aspect of who I am. And so I started to hear all these stories, and they were getting bigger and stronger. And the very first message I heard was for the Walcott family, and I haven't found that family yet. So what happens is, I sit in front of blank purple papers, and I open myself up, right? I open myself up to the universe, to God, to the spirit, to the light, to whatever word that works in that context. And I sit there and I say, what message must I send, or what must I do to help someone find some peace and healing? And then I put my pen on the paper, and then things start to happen. And I write every word I hear. I write every story I hear. And then I walk out there in a room full of people, and I come to some realization that one of these purple papers that I'm holding on to belongs to someone in that audience.
Is this the full collection of them here?
There's a smaller collection at home of those messages that I think I've already said to people that weren't handed to people.
Okay.
But this is it. But I receive thousands of them a year.
It's a very large stack, and it sounds like you're typically have some kind of name associated with it. But is it a challenge to connect a particular paper in this large stack to somebody in an audience?
I would say yes to that, because I still have all these left.
Right.
Yeah. It's not always easy, right? But the fact is, it happens the way it's supposed to happen. I'll never forget this one time in Rhode Island, and I'm with this group of people, and there's a man there, and he's desperately missing his wife, and there's a purple paper with her name on it, and this whole big story, and I look at him and I say, this has been written for you, right? This older man starts to sob. I've never seen a man cry so hard. Sobbing, and he takes the paper and he looks at the date, and he says, I just want you to know that was our anniversary date.
Oh, wow.
With her name on it. But even more important than that, what happened to the guy when he received that message, right? How did he change? How did he become a ripple effect of that loving energy? And how did he transform as a result of receiving that message?
Sure.
That's really the most important part of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you feel any kind of obligation? Are you concerned about the messages that may not get received? I imagine that's a heavy toll to have all of these and be the one responsible for finding their destination.
That's another exceptional question, by the way. The reality of it is I want people to feel better. That's the man in me. It's the father in me.
Sure.
It's the guy in me. I want people to feel better. I know that if I'm in a room with 50 people or 800 people, that the message is broader than what's written on that paper. That there is something beyond here, that there's life beyond here, that love is important, that love is everlasting, that the impressions that you and I make in this moment have power, and that power is what transforms the energy, right? So I do feel responsible, yes. I do feel it's my mission, yes. And I do feel incredibly honored that I get to hold these. I mean, I get to hold these, and tonight, and as I move forward, I get to walk into a room and say, I have something for you. And if someone has a gleam of peace over their eyes, I think, well, maybe it's done what it's supposed to do.
Great.
Yeah.
As I kind of got wrapped up in the conversation, and now I need to find a place to jump back in.
Sure.
Well, this seems like a good time for this. Mediumship is not universally accepted as truth.
Right.
Do you face a lot of skepticism,
Yes.
or do you find that you tend to interact with the people that are open to that process?
Well, can I just tell a little story about this? I'll
Of
articulate
course.
the answer. I was doing an event, and there was a guy in the back row. His arms were folded like this, and he's stomping his feet, and he's so unhappy to be in that room, but his wife dragged him in, right? He didn't want to be there. He didn't believe me. He didn't believe anything. He thought I was fraudulent on every level. And I went out there, and I said, and I say to the spirit, well, get me to the easy people. But it never happens.
Of course.
I always end up at the guys who want to, resist the moment. So I walk up to him and I say, your father-in-law wants to say something to you. And I went on to give him this big story. I don't remember the words now. What I do remember is that your father-in-law wants you to know that when you find the 3 pennies, this is what I said to the guy, when you find the 3 pennies, then and only then will you know that love is everlasting, that he's with you and he's thanking you for something. So the guy doesn't do anything, doesn't respond. We're now at the end of the event and he's coming up to me and he's very intense, and now as he gets closer to me, he starts to sweat and he gets all panicky. He reaches into his pocket and he says, you're not going to believe this, but here are the 3 pennies. In his pocket were 3 pennies that he had no idea about. He didn't even remember they were there. And I thought to myself, good work, because the spirit world reaches down and does what it's supposed to do. And I should also say, I'm not on a mission to change someone's mind. You believe what you believe. You understand what you understand. And I am not going to be the guy to fight you about your belief system or your mission or your understanding. What I am going to do is support you through the process and through the experience.
Sure. And I imagine that whether somebody believes in it or not, if you are bringing peace to people that need it,
Yes.
then the world doesn't need to accept it as a whole.
That's exactly true. If there's one person in that room and they receive a moment of, then we've done something. Can I just share one other story
Of course,
with you?
yeah.
I was in Connecticut doing an event, and there was a young woman there, and she was sitting there all alone, no family support, no one there with her. I was giving her a message about her father that she was driving to see. And on her way down there, her father died. And she never had a chance to say goodbye. She never had a chance to introduce him to her daughter. There was never any closure at all. I walked up to her and I said, your father wants to talk to you. I never heard a wail of a sound come out of a human being. Never, right? And the whole audience stopped at that moment while this lady just made a sound I've never heard. And another woman, another audience member from the other side of the room, came over and hugged that lady. What if that was the only moment for her?
Sure.
Doesn't that give credit to what this is all about? Because that lady who was receiving the message was getting the message and also getting the support. Humanity spread its wings that day when that lady stretched over and said, I'm going to help you. And then the entire audience hugged her as she left. And that's the power of one moment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Your musical, how far along is it?
It's finished.
It is, okay.
Yeah.
Are there plans? Is it something that we'll be able to see soon?
Yes, we're very excited to bring it here. We're tweaking a few little things. It launched on January 8th at the Stadium Theater in Woonsocket, Rhode Island, to an audience of 512 people. It was great. We're tweaking it. I guess you understand this field very well.
Oh, yes.
So we're tweaking things and making it what I envisioned it to be a long time ago, and we're very happy with it. We'll be announcing more dates very soon.
Wonderful. Well, we'll keep an eye on that.
I love that.
Thank you for sitting down and talking to us. You'll be coming back to the Easton area in November.
Yes.
And we'll have those dates for you. So if you're hoping to receive a purple paper or observe, just be in the room to see that process happen, you'll be able to be a part of it. For more information, you can visit rolandcomtois.net. Or for tickets or more information, you can call Bobby at 610-209-5409. Roland, thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you.
And best of luck. I hope you get those distributed as many as possible.
I do too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi everybody, Roland Comtois here, spiritual medium, speaker, and author. I look forward to visiting you again in Maryland. I will be doing Validating the Afterlife, talking about our loved ones, and sharing messages from the other side on June 23rd at St. Michael's Inn, and again on June 26th at the Evergreen Easton Point in Easton, Maryland. I will be doing a book signing and meet and greet on June 24th at Simpatico's Italy's Finest in St. Michael's, Maryland. I hope to see you there, and I hope to see you soon. Have a beautiful day.